Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name's Anthony. I'm on the sales team at Headway, and I'm filling in for Jacob. He's the face you probably normally see. He's our marketing and brand manager. But we are so excited to have Billy today, who is the head of design at Headway. He's going to be talking about growing and managing a product design team. Whether you're leading a team right now or you want to lead a team in the future, we hope that today the presentation will help you in your design career. But before we get started, just a couple of things to note. This presentation is going to be recorded and preserved on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to our channel. We would encourage you to do that so you can keep up to date with any updates about future live streams or anything else that we're putting out. If you have questions, feel free to add them in the chat. We'll try to answer them at the end of our time together. And if you have other questions that don't get answered, you can email them to ahoy@headway.io. But I'm going to turn it over to Billy, and Billy is going to walk us through this presentation. We hope you find it meaningful and helpful. So take it away, Billy.
Thank you, Anthony. And thank you for everyone for jumping in and coming to our talk on design leadership. These are really lessons we've learned from managing and building teams from our entire design team here at Headway. Another note, we've rebranded what used to be Wisconsin UX. A lot of these design talks from us were coming from a meeting that we used to have called Wisconsin UX, and we're rebranding it to an Intent and Craft. Our goal with Intent and Craft is really keep sharing our design knowledge and help us level up as designers and help designers level up everywhere. So keep an eye out for more content coming from our design team in the form of live streams, resources, and things all labeled as Intent and Craft. So let me go ahead and introduce myself first. My name is Billy Sweetman, head of design here at Headway. I've been doing design work for the better part of 10 plus years. I've had the privilege to work in various individual contributor and leadership roles. Like I said, I'm currently head of design here at Headway, working with an amazing team of designers, and hopefully some of these lessons that we've learned as a team are valuable for you and your team. Individual contributor to team builder. This transition from being an individual contributor can be really exciting and scary at the same time. You might feel like you're going to lose some control of the outcomes that you've been setting out to achieve. You might fear that you're not going to be able to keep up with the latest design trends and tools. These are all reasonable doubts and feelings that you might have. You'll be looking at things differently now. You'll be designing a team and individual design careers. We understand that some of these fears will manifest themselves as you kind of take on these new challenges. And hopefully some of these lessons will help ease some of those feelings. Now, you don't need to be a design lead or managing other designers to implement any of these. In fact, a lot of these ideas and concepts have come from our team. We really embrace a collaborative mindset when it comes to building out different processes and different thoughts about our team. So feel free to bring some of these to your team and your design leaders. So shall we dive in? Super practical tips for teams that we either stole, borrowed, remixed, or really combination of the three. Now, these are in no order of importance or particular order. These are just different things that we've learned as a team, things that we've read, things that we've embraced, things that we've taken and remixed and changed a little bit to fit our needs. And we thought that we should share out with the community. At the end, we'll have time for questions. So I'm really excited to hear any questions about any of the things that we cover today. Also, I'd love to know your ideas or things that you're doing on your team that really work. We really want to be able to share together. Learning number one, defining process and standards. As an individual, we all have different ways of doing things. Some might name things one way in their design files. Another might build out a Webflow site in a very specific way that's different from the rest of the team, which is great. We're busy. There's a lot of work to be done on our team, and we're really working to get stuff done, and really leveraging our individual strengths in those areas is fantastic to get everything that we might need to deliver accomplished. Really want to encourage design teams to think about how can you fold in some process and standards into your team, something that helps other designers jump into a file and understand exactly what's going on. One of the most dreaded scenarios is a designer is out on vacation and another designer has to take over their file or take over their project. And if everything's unique to that project and it doesn't live in some sort of standard or system, it's really hard for everyone to get up to speed and get running. Our design team really tries to be collaborative about our process, new standards that we're setting, but also flexible in learning new things and adapting. Really want the team to help build out those processes and standards and really set up some of those loose guidelines that we want to follow so any designer can excel on a project and know where we're standing. Another learning that we've had is feedback structure. While we do a lot of different feedback on all our various projects, delivering feedback is something we just do a lot as designers. We'll do it in design critiques, project syncs. We'll do it in individual sessions looking at design work. We'll toss up notes and thoughts and share links, all because we want to help whichever project we're working on be successful and support our team. We'll communicate in Slack and really provide lots of different thoughts about direction or the UI or UX of an individual thing that we're working on. An art director at the Bungie Game Studio tweeted out a really unique way on the way they looked at providing feedback. And we kind of thought about how do we adapt this to product design teams. The feedback structure that they put out was there's 3 types of feedback. There's direction, there's feedback, and then there's thoughts. Direction, these are things that we want our team or the individual to change. An example would be, this button's too small, let's make it 10% bigger. Or this navigation is confusing, let's add a hamburger menu here. Those are directional bits of feedback that really help somebody understand what your expectations are for that change. Then there's feedback. These are things that you want the team to go back and solve. An example would be like, I'm not sure about these interactions. The call to action isn't very clear, and I'm not sure what I should do first as a user. So I asked the team to go back and take a look at that and come up with a different solution. So they can pick out little bits of feedback, but you're not offering a solution for them because you might not know or might want to see some different explorations that they might come up with. And then there's thoughts. These are not really directions or feedback. Nothing should be considered actionable from these thoughts, but it could be something that could grow and make changes in the process going forward. An example might be like, this feels a little bit cramped, or this blue feels really inviting. These are just really random thoughts that it's good to capture because it might manifest itself later on in a project. We thought this feedback structure was really interesting, and we've been trying to implement it in our various ways of providing feedback. And so far, it's been really good, and we might adapt it and change it a little bit, but we definitely wanted to share that with everybody. Another thing, sort of feedback related, is design critique. If you have a team of designers, having design critique is a great way to get your team together and share their design work. We're an agency, and so everyone's on different projects, whether it's a team of 2 designers or a single designer on a project, but we still come together and do a large design critique. We break out into small Zoom rooms. We learned that having a big room with everyone in it is kind of intimidating, and it's hard to everyone to have a chance to speak up. So we break up into smaller groups. Everyone presents what they're working on, what feedback they like, and what they're not ready to get feedback on. Then we go around the room and individuals will raise their hand to share thoughts and feedback on what's being shared in their Zoom room. It's a great way to leverage the power of the entire design team on our projects and get different point of views on the work. And it also allows teams to kind of keep up to date with everything that's going on as a team. One of the lessons we learned when we were having our design critique is definitely have it on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. We used to have it on Friday, and there was a sense of everyone being in a silo until Friday, and most of our work for the week was done, and we were really showing off final designs or things that are ready to be handed off. Moving our design critique to Wednesday, as our team suggested, allowed that feedback on the projects to really be actionable and allowed the team to see things mid-flight and really be able to take that feedback and run with it. Now, critique doesn't have to only be kept in this meeting once a week. Another great suggestion from our team was to leverage things like Loom or Cloud App to record and share videos to our Slack channel. After a bit of encouragement and all of us getting used to narrating our designs, we've been able to share out during the middle of the week to the entire design team and really work as a team to solve tricky design issues through our Slack channel and Loom recordings. Kind of going hand in hand with design critique is making sure we're communicating a lot. Communication is one of the most important parts of a team. We try to connect our team in a variety of ways. One of the things that we started since the pandemic and most of our design team being remote is a Monday morning coffee session. This is optional. It's a way for the team to get together and have some water cooler chat in the morning, set out what we're working on, kind of talk about our weekend on Monday mornings. It's a lot of fun to have an opportunity to really sync up with everybody. Then obviously we do our design critiques midweek we actually do those on Wednesdays. Then Fridays, we have Learn Some Things. This is an opportunity for the team to share new things they've learned, new processes or items that we're implementing, and really work together as a team trying to solve something. And then our entire company does a team lunch on Friday. This is a way for us to break up into smaller groups and talk to people who might not be in the design team, other people at Headway, developers and strategists, and really get to know each other as a team. All of these have been really, really great ways for us to connect, communicate together. We also want to communicate with our clients and stakeholders in a ton of different ways as well. We try to be as transparent as possible with allowing our stakeholders and clients into our Slack and Figma files from day one. We train them on how to use comments in Figma. We train them how to use Slack instead of email so they continually be available and communicate with us. And we also leverage asynchronous communication, which has become a really great tool for us. Like we said, we have a lot of comments in Figma, and before we share a lot of Loom videos back and forth to get feedback from stakeholders or feedback from other designers. Having our clients in our Figma files and being able to send them Loom videos ahead of time has allowed us to really use our stand-ups, our syncs, to do actionable feedback items instead of kind of communicating or presenting our designs. Overall, just constantly communicating as a team, constantly communicating with our clients, it really helps have less friction in our process, less friction in our projects. There's always going to be a little bit, but it really helps us alleviate as much as possible. Next lesson we've learned is, listening. Open our mind as design leaders and just listen to our team. Ask your team what they need. Empower them to evolve the process to fit their skill sets and expectations. When the team is excited about something, it'll be learned quickly and it will take a much deeper hold in our team's culture. You might have suggestions of how things should be done, and you provide that feedback insight as well. But mostly allowing the team to identify where their next goals and improvements are can really help fill in the gaps in the team or individual skill sets. It allows us all to reflect individually on things that we want to learn and push forward. And as a leader, it allows us to really listen to what's important to our team. Ask the team what's working and what's not. Ask them to reinvent stuff. Give them space to make a mistake or chart a new course on a project or a specific process that we have. One of the ways that we try to listen to our team is having a project health scorecard. This is something our team fills out every week and kind of communicates to us. How are they feeling about the project? Do they feel it's in a good spot? Do they feel things are going in a positive direction or a negative direction? And then this will help us identify things that we should change or things that we need to adapt earlier than maybe a project sync or a one-on-one. We also try to encourage our team to really bring what is working in what's not working in one-on-ones and in our project syncs so we can continually adapt our process. And we encourage the team to evaluate our process and challenge things that we're doing just to make sure that we're doing the best thing we possibly can. Another learning that we've had is making sure that we clear obstacles. Clear a road is a fast road. One of our goals as design leads and design leaders is to really help our team execute their work. There's a ton of ways this can be done, but it really boils down to clearing out obstacles and making sure that they have everything they need to do and solve the challenges that they have to solve. What's holding the team back? Is there a new process we can implement? Is there something that'll make it easier for them? Is there a resource we can leverage? Is there something that we've learned on one project that we should communicate in another project? Really, our goal is to remove as many roadblocks and take over some of those things so that the team can focus on the project at hand or the process that they're trying to evolve. As design leaders, one of the ways that we try to do this is really, like we said before, communicating a lot with our team. on what's working, what's not working, what's maybe a hard conversation that they need to have, what is a resource that they're unsure of, maybe taking a little bit of time in our day to do a little bit of research and bring that back to the design team to provide some clarity on a question or things like that. We're really trying to clear the way for the team and make it so that they can really focus on what they need to do. Along with clearing the way, clarity is one of the best things we can provide to our team. Clarity in setting those clear expectations and guidelines like we talked before, and allowing the team to push on those guidelines. I think if the team knows, or we think if the team knows what those guidelines and expectations are, they're allowed to help evolve those expectations and evolve those guidelines. If everyone has a clear understanding of what's expected of them, things tend to go a lot easier. And then they can really, like I said, evolve and change that. This is true for all aspects of life. So setting those clear expectations is pivotal. And allowing the team to identify those, they can help evolve those, express their own unique view on those process, and really come back with recommendations. They're going to make some of the things that you're doing as a team better and more effective than maybe before. So really just being clear with the team on what the expectations are, and asking them to be clear with you as a design leader as what the expectations for you are as well. With that in mind, one of the things we want to keep clear is and really help those expectations is making sure that we keep our skills sharp as design leaders. One of the things is we should always try to stay updated enough with what's going on in the design world so we can jump in and help, whether that be tooling, patterns, different UX things, checking out new apps, checking out new projects, just making sure that we're spending some time to learn so we can help jump in. Sometimes the team will need some extra help on a project. You know, they might need someone to workshop an idea with. They might need somebody to come in and help maybe design out a screen. So we want us to make sure we save time in our week to ask our team if there's anything we can help with. Sometimes we'll end up designing something or help draft an email or help work through a client communication or help set up a project plan, making sure we're keeping our skills sharp in all those various areas so we can help jump in. One of the ways that we leverage this is through project syncs. We have weekly check-ins with our leads on every project that are just project focused. We ask our team, let's jump into what you're working on. We ask questions and offer feedback. These sessions run about 15 to 20 minutes. And if we need to schedule more time, we will. Having these separate from our one-on-ones allows us to focus on jumping into the work, allows us to focus on clearing the road of obstacles, and really help understand where are we having issues in the projects, and really saves our one-on-ones for how is the individual doing, and not so much talking about the project-based stuff. Another learning that we've had is, and this seems like a no-brainer, just being honest and transparent, really being an open book. Having honest conversations with your team. Tell them when they did a good job. Offer feedback when they're not doing so great. Have the hard conversation with your team if it's needed, and be prepared to give them your real thoughts and real assessments of where they are. Creating a culture of honesty and bravery is hard, and sometimes we don't want to do it, but you'll feel much better when it exists. This goes for setting expectations of you as well. Ask your team to be honest with you on how you're doing. Ask them how you can help and ways that you can improve or processes that don't work. Ask them, how they're doing. Ask them how their workload is. Ask them how process implementation may go. Are there gaps in the team? Are there different needs that they might have? Tell them when you have an answer or when you don't, and you'll go find one out for them. How you respond to these questions and to these conversations can really determine if your team's going to be really honest with you on how they're feeling and how the projects are going forward. Being kind here, even when it's hard conversation is always a good path and really helps bridge and build those really solid relationships. We do this by establishing weekly one-on-ones with our team. This allows us to see what's on our team members' minds. And sometimes we won't even talk about work stuff. It's just going to be what's going on in their life. Having this time and space will create better relationships between you and your team. And people will reach out when they need something instead of burying it deep down and you finding out either in an exit interview or through a back channel. So really opening up these channels of transparency and really working with your team to set those expectations together is something that's super valuable. Another thing you need to do is you need to find some time, create a space for you to create. You need to find time for yourself just to focus on the team. I don't mean on like just the one-on-ones and reviews and design critiques and project things, but you need time to sit down, unwind a bit, and think about everyone on your team, their goals, their aspirations, where you can see them in the future. This is especially important with our current situation dealing with the pandemic. Everything has really changed. Each individual on your team has different things that they're dealing with, and so do you. So take time to unpack those things, create a plan, and really see where they are and how they're doing. You can do this and capture all this information down and create a growth plan for everyone in your team, and you could share it with them right away. However, we suggest keeping it to yourself for a little bit and allow yourself through one-on-ones and project syncs to have really strong conversations with the team about where they see themselves and what they see are their strengths and areas that they want to grow in. And then you can adapt that growth plan and really create that together. And then you can chat with them about that growth plan and show it to them and allow them to push back on things or add things that they might want to see as well. So really finding that time for you to think about your team, think about where you're at, think about where your entire design department is at and what that vision is going to be is really important. This can be done in the morning before work or take the first 30 minutes of a day or the first hour of day and really clear your mind and set time aside to just think about this and spend time working on this. I know it's really easy for us to get bogged down in the day-to-day and all the things that we need to do, but making sure that we set time for this. And I encourage individuals who aren't in design leadership roles to think about this as well. If this isn't something that's really ingrained into the culture at your current team, make sure you spend some time to think about what do you want to achieve? What are your aspirations? Where do you want your career to go? What is the future you would like to see at your project or at your team? And really make sure you have time to sit down and work through that. New team members, it's a two-way street. Welcoming new team members is one of the most exciting parts of being on a design team. You spend a lot of time with them and show them why you're excited about your team and your project. And if you love teaching, there's a lot of fun opportunities here to share and educate your new team member about everything that you do on your team or your project. On top of welcoming your new team member, you also want to show them the ropes and the way your team might be doing things. This is an area where we had some big lessons learned. Under a mindset of how we can get our team members to adapt to our specific process as fast as possible, learning all the different tools and learning all the different things that we set up, we really ended up creating a challenging start for them. So learning that, we've decided to practice a lot more patience during this learning period and allow team members to do things the way they find most comfortable and not to put any pressure on them to adapt holistically to our process right away. This allowed for a lot slower but deeper understanding of our process and allowed our team to be introduced to a ton of new ways of doing things that we've since adapted in our process. We've also made the onboarding and learning portion of becoming a new team member a lot more friendlier. Like I said before, this allowed us to find unique ways that things could be done and adapt them into our process, because instead of sort of requiring a new team member to immediately adapt to our new process, we said, just do things the way you normally do, and we'll slowly learn this process. And so onboarding, which used to be a 2-week process, is now a lot longer while they're on project work, and we slowly introduce a lot of concepts along the way. And this has become really valuable for our team. Early and often, getting feedback constantly. This is another lesson we learned, that oversharing with our team and our client is okay. We're a big fan of getting feedback early and often and working together to shape something instead of hiding away for a few weeks and coming down with the tablets from the mountain. So when you're working on a new process or idea, or even like this talk, sharing drafts early and often with the team is super valuable. Sharing with your team, your client early in different methods is super encouraged. Like we talked a little bit before, it could be through Slack, it could be getting them into your Figma channel early, it could be sharing Loom videos, but this will help bring everyone together and creating something together and collaboratively. A lot of times it's really easy for us to get heads down in our work and just share something because we're afraid that it's not perfect. So we're going to wait till the very end to share it. But we really want to encourage people to share things very early, even super rough drafts, just so we can process this together as a team and really get everyone to contribute on things earlier in the process. With clients, this is great because we feel like we're building something together instead of us going away and building something. And with our team, it allows all the diverse thought and input to come into everything that we're building and really makes everything that we do a lot better and a lot stronger. Unlearning. You're going to have to unlearn a lot of stuff that's worked for you in the past or things that you've experienced from previous teams that you've inherited or formed habits around. Give yourself time and grace during the process. It's not an easy task. The thing that we found that works is setting out these quarterly goals and things to do as a team to really improve ourselves and improve our design team. Set out 2 to 3 goals that we can achieve either on our client work or within investment time. Our goals will have to be smart. We can't just become better at Figma variants. We need to say something like getting better at Figma variants by implementing them in all my new components going forward and leveraging interactions in my prototypes. This goal is easy to understand and how to achieve a goal by writing it in a smart way or smartifying our goals. We've got a lot of things that we pick up throughout our years of doing design work and things that, other managers or other leaders have brought with us and things that we've experienced. And to keep an open mindset, we have to continually be willing to unlearn things and really set up to learn new things. Those are really important for us as design leads and as design team members to really grow our team and establish that collaborative learning space and sort of come to everything in a very humble way, not saying that we know everything. For example, everything that we've listed here is things that we've learned this year, and we're going to learn new stuff tomorrow that might change things that we would talk about if we did this talk even tomorrow. Remix everything. Nothing is sacred. All of these things that we've learned, conferences we've attended or books that we've read, there isn't a single system or solution that's going to work for you as an individual or for your specific team. All of our teams are unique, just like we're unique. So it's important to try to take what works, experiment, and remove what doesn't. This kind of goes hand in hand with unlearning. There might be parts of a specific system from a specific book that really works for a team, and there might be parts that don't. Really feel the freedom and be creative with remixing things and doing things a little bit differently, and let your team know, hey, we're going to try this out for a week. We're going to try this out for 2 weeks. If we like this, we'll use this going forward. If we don't, let's not use it and we'll try something else. Ask the team how they feel about those experiments or those remixes of different philosophies or different thoughts that you've tried, and let them help you decide on what should and shouldn't be going forward. And lastly, and in closing, evolution is really the key. Never assume you know everything. There's so much out there to learn. There's so many great leaders to learn. Everything that we've picked up here has come from either some of the amazing leaders here at Headway, our design team, a variety of books we've read, conferences we've attended, and we're still learning every day and growing. We just want to get some of what we've learned and what we've understood out there in this design leadership world and what it looks like to be a design lead. I know we could learn something new tomorrow, like we said, and some of these things that we've talked about could evolve and we could change those things to be a little bit different. We might learn something later on this week that shatters one of these recommendations to pieces because it's a new tip or a new best practice that we've experimented with and tried. But the goal is to never be stagnant, to continually be evolving as a design leader, as a designer, and really trying to continually reevaluate your process, just like you would reevaluate the work that you're doing. We'd love to hear your thoughts and recommendations as well on things that you've learned. So like I said, feel free to put questions in the chat here as we've got some time at the end. And we do have a couple of book recommendations that we recommend reading here. We have Let My People Go Surfing. It's a great book about the founding of the clothing company Patagonia and just how their leadership works there. The Coaching Habit is a really good book that really works on how you can work with your team and how to ask the right questions and really feel how you're getting the best responses from the team and just how to have good one-on-ones. Be Water, My Friend is a bunch of teachings from Bruce Lee, written by his daughter. It's got some great ways in there on how to be flexible and how to adapt to different situations. Creativity Inc. is a great book about the founding of Pixar and a lot of things that they do. And lastly, Radical Candor is just a really good book on how to have really healthy conversations with your team and how to have your team have really healthy, open, and honest conversations with you. Just want to thank everyone for hanging out today. I hope this was valuable. And if we have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat.
Thank you, Billy. Man, you said so many good things in there. I think the key one for me is that concept of collaboration and how people want to work in a black box and then do the kind of shock and awe reveal or take the tablets down the mountain, as you said. But it's so important to have people open and collaborating. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, so far none have come in, but we'll let it sit for a couple seconds to see what people might need answered. But why do you think that is? Why do you feel like a lot of people are sort of against that idea or maybe hesitant to let people into their actual design files?
I think it's scary, right? We can be very unorganized, and we have a fear of identifying or presenting our work because it's part of our identity, and we might be scared that of getting that negative feedback, getting that negative comment or anything like that. I think with pushing for the allowing people to get in there early and get in there often, it does add an extra level of communication. We have to say, hey, this is early, this is conceptual, and sometimes people won't understand that. But really, if we keep doing that, people will understand, and we'll be able to have a lot of those tactical conversations super early and not have to do that stuff later. But I do think generally it is just a fear of receiving that negative feedback, feeling it's not ready to be shown. A lot of designers can be, like myself, can kind of be a perfectionist. This was something I had to unlearn, was not sharing things. I used to want to just wait until everything was perfect and then I'll share it. And then if I got feedback, I was like, I didn't really, that's fine. But it's perfect now, so we don't have to worry about it. But so it's definitely something I had to unlearn and get rid of sort of those fears and anxieties of receiving anything negative early on and knowing that everything's moldable.
Do you feel like there's some sort of threshold where people could share feedback or get feedback when it's too early? Like if it's like a, napkin sketch or something and someone's, I don't like that. Like, is there some level where you have to kind of be able to flesh it out a little bit before actually showing it to other people?
I don't think so. I've spent a lot of time getting on calls with designers on our team, getting on calls with clients, and just with a couple of gray boxes, fleshing out ideas and working through concepts and really like sculpting that experience. And it's always been super productive. It has allowed us to get a lot further than if I presented something a little bit more finalized towards the tail end. I think the biggest fear is if we don't communicate that that's what we're doing, someone might not understand that. Everyone's shown wireframes at some point to somebody and they said, well, why is it all gray? Because they didn't understand that those are wireframes. So I think there's a little bit more of education on our end as designers to do, but that early level of collaboration is super key.
And that protects you from having a ton of design debt at the end, right? You go down the rabbit hole, you make all this stuff, and then now if they want to walk it back at all, you have to make pretty big universal changes, this when you've employed them in so many different facets of the design.
Yeah, absolutely. It protects us from design debt. It protects us from making decisions. And then at the very end, having, somebody else come in and say, well, we can't do that. That's not achievable. That's going to be too much work. So it really helps us stay on time and helps us make those decisions earlier on.
Yeah, definitely. So it looks like we still have not had any questions come in. So you could have just answered all the questions really, really well, and preemptively answered them. But if anyone who is watching has questions, feel free to send them to ahoy@headway.io. I'll drop that in the chat right now. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us, and feel free to share this with someone else if you found it valuable. Yeah, and we hope to see you the next time for the next Intent and Craft live stream. So have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. See ya.